Joining me again this morning, Deanna Booker. She's back in town, a financial expert and the manager of community outreach and communications at Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland and Delaware. You know, this seat's getting very used to you.
I know. I like it. It's very comfortable, and I like it here. I might not ever leave.
Well, you're welcome to hang around because I like you too, so that works out. We do have a lot of stuff to talk about here. Let me start right at the beginning. According to RealtyTrack, nearly 7 million Americans have lost their homes due to foreclosure or short sale since 2007. That's a lot of people. Many were up to date on their mortgage payments before they lost their jobs and were forced into foreclosure or short sale. So how have these consumers' chances to own a home again changed in the past year or so?
They've really changed a lot, honestly. In the past, most of these consumers would have had to wait at least 2 to 7 years before they could apply to become homeowners again. That waiting period was required even if they didn't lose their homes due to poor financial planning. It applied even after they were reemployed and had gotten back, on their feet sort of financially. Today, home buyers who lose their homes due to job loss may be able to get home financing easier than they did a couple years ago. And it really is good news. But it's also important for me that I stress that if homeowners have gone through foreclosure or short sale, there's still no guarantee that they can do this. But now just their chances are better. The odds are better if you meet certain HUD criteria and if you've prepared yourself financially.
I'm going to assume that having a foreclosure or a short sale on your record will probably affect your ability to qualify for another mortgage.
Oh, sure. Foreclosure and short sale both put a sort of a black mark on your credit history. As a result, consumers who've undergone these circumstances, a lot of times they find it harder to become homeowners again. They generally have to go through a waiting period, like I was just saying, before they can apply for or be approved for a loan. The amount of time that they end up waiting depends on the type of home financing that they're trying to get. For example, conventional mortgages often demand a 2.5 to 7 year wait after a short sale and a 3 to 7 year wait after a foreclosure. So it's a lot of time. But again, thanks to these recent changes in the HUD guidelines, some consumers who lost their homes due to job loss now might be able to qualify for an FHA-backed mortgage much sooner.
So what can you tell us about these new HUD guidelines?
Well, just so happens I know a little bit about them, Jeff.
Oh, what a coincidence. Glad we brought you in then.
They're known as the Back to Work Extenuating Circumstances Guidelines. If you're able to meet the criteria under these guidelines and show that your credit history doesn't reflect your true ability or your true intent, which I think is a big part of it, to repay a mortgage, you may be able to qualify for financing on an FHA-backed loan just 12 months after a foreclosure or a short sale.
So how can home buyers meet these criteria?
Well, the Back to Work Extenuating Circumstances Guidelines require borrowers to document 3 things. First, they have to show their foreclosure or short sale was due to an economic event beyond their control. And that's important to remember. In other words, they have to be able to prove that a setback like a job loss or loss of income led to a reduction in their household income by 20% or more. So that's a big one. They also have to demonstrate that they've fully recovered from this event. And that's important too, fully recovered. And you have to be able to demonstrate and document it. And finally, they have to show evidence that they've completed housing counseling at a HUD certified nonprofit agency like Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland and Delaware. So they have to be able to show those 3 things and document those 3 things. But also, home buyers in this situation or potential home buyers in this situation should do the thing that any other home buyer should do. They should really be getting prepared financially.
I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say that credit scores and your credit situation probably play a vital part in this situation. How can these home buyers check on their credit standing to see if they do qualify?
You're exactly right. Out on that limb, you got all the right information. So home buyers want to begin by requesting and reviewing their credit reports and their credit scores. We're all entitled to receive 1 free credit report every 12 months from each of the 3 major credit reporting companies. You can order free copies online from all 3. Listeners can go to www.annualcreditreport.com. This is the only website that offers no-cost credit reports without any, strings attached. Once you get the credit reports, if you find inaccurate information on any of them, take the time to dispute it. Go through the process. The Federal Trade Commission website, it's www.ftc.gov. They really give some really clear and concise instructions on how to do this. Now, when it comes to scores, not the report, but the score, FICO is the most commonly used credit score. So to obtain a copy of your score, visit www.myfico.com or go to any of the 3 major credit reporting companies, Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion. Be prepared to pay a small fee, though. The credit score is always going to cost you something. And a lot of times folks get scared and get sort of immobilized sometimes around the credit score. Remember that your credit score isn't permanent. If you do some work, make some effort, put some care into it, you really can improve it.
Okay, so how can home buyers improve their credit scores?
A person's bill payment history is the single most important factor when it comes to rebuilding credit because it accounts for about 35% of your FICO credit score. So the main thing is really to be sure that you're making all your bill payments on time and in full. If you hope to apply for a mortgage, also you want to remember to keep the amount of credit that you owe low. You don't want it to get out of hand. If your car breaks down while you're preparing to buy a home, don't go out and buy a big brand new luxury car, because this is increasing your overall debt load. So if you got to replace the car, get a affordable secondhand one. You really just want to make sure you're keeping that debt load as low as possible.
How important is it for consumers who've gone through foreclosure or short sale to have savings on hand before they go and apply for that next mortgage?
I think it's really important. It's always important to have enough savings to cover your down payment, your closing costs, other expenses that are going to come up like for moving, for home maintenance, real estate taxes, that kind of thing. So how much savings is enough? It really, I think, is smart to try to save enough to be able to make a down payment of 20%. That's about average. Otherwise, you'll probably end up paying for private mortgage insurance to safeguard the lender, and that can be costly. So if you plan to make a smaller down payment, it still makes sense to build up as much savings as possible because there's so many kind of unexpected costs and even sort of expected costs that can really add up. So savings is key.
Okay, when it comes time to apply for a mortgage, what do these consumers need to know?
If you want to succeed, I think, and get the best rate possible, which is really important, it pays to shop around. Mortgage providers have their own loan approval criteria. If they have different requirements than the FHA, or if they don't carry the right mortgage products, you could be turned down even if you meet all the federal conditions. So you really want to do that looking and comparing.
Why do homebuyers who've experienced foreclosure or short sale need housing counseling?
Wow, it's so important. Even though, folks in that situation they already know what it's like to be a homeowner, it's still one of the most important financial transactions that they will ever make. And working with a housing counselor can help them prepare for the unique home buying issues that they might face, due to their situation. They're also going to gain some knowledge that's going to help them avoid going through another foreclosure or another short sale down the road. There was a study that Neil Mayer and Associates recently distributed, and it documented the long-term benefits of pre-purchase education. The study examined about 75,000 mortgage loans, and it found that home buyers who received the pre-purchase counseling from NeighborWorks trained organizations like Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland and Delaware were 1/3 less likely to fall behind on their mortgage payments. So that's huge. It really does play a big part.
So what are some of the things that home buyers learn at a HUD-approved housing counseling session?
Oh, they learn so much. They're going to talk with a trained counselor who's going to help them review their finances and help them determine how prepared they are to buy a home again. Clients are going to receive instruction on how to budget, on how to save for this huge purchase. They're also going to get a copy of their credit reports and their credit scores so they can review them and understand what's being reported. The counselor is going to help them determine how much home they can afford to buy and what types of barriers, might affect their ability to buy another home. They're going to get all kinds of important information about the financing and the settlement processes, about the different kinds of mortgage process or products that'll work for them. So it's so much. There's so much information in that in those classes.
A big word that we throw around here whenever you're here is reputable. Mm-hmm. How can these home buyers ensure they're getting reputable counseling?
Absolutely. It's important to locate and use a HUD-certified nonprofit housing agency that's qualified to provide this type of counseling. Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland and Delaware's pre-purchase program is based on standards that are set by the National Industry Standards for Homeownership Education and Counseling. And there are other HUD requirements and guidelines as well. So it's all about best practices. It's all about making sure that you're dealing with and you're getting information from somebody who is reputable and trained and certified and licensed. All of our counselors are fully trained. They pride themselves on providing clients with ongoing support, reliable advice. So you really just want to pin down who it is that you're thinking about working with.
Well, say somebody wants to contact you guys over there at CCCS to schedule a housing counseling appointment. How would they do that?
Well, if they've gone through foreclosure or short sale and they want to schedule an FHA back to work pre-purchase counseling session, they can call our housing counseling department at 1-866-731-8486. And now when you call for an appointment, homeowners want to make sure, or potential home buyers want to make sure that they ask specifically for that type of housing counseling. And during the session, they're going to receive a recommended spending plan, a detailed case action plan. So the counselor really is going to give them a lot of the information that they're needing.
So what resources does CCCS offer for other home buyers?
We have at Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland and Delaware group pre-purchase certificate workshops for home buyers. We also offer an online pre-purchase certificate course. Now, clients who complete either of these options are going to get in-depth education and personalized counseling. On our website, www.cccs-inc.org, we also have a free online e-learning course to help first-time consumers learn about the home buying process. And again, listeners can call our housing department at 1-866-731-8486 or visit our website to learn more about the housing and financial counseling programs that we're offering.
Well, I hate when we come to this point in an interview when we're running out of time and I'm going to have to say goodbye. But before I do make you leave here, do you have any other advice for us here?
I want to say, whether you're a first-time home buyer or you're hoping to purchase again, it really does pay to become financially prepared. You're more likely to succeed if you set up and stick to a household budget, if you develop good credit practices, if you build as much savings as possible before you buy. It also helps to learn as much as you can about the mortgage financing and the settlement process. It really is going to help make you a better informed consumer, and then you're going to be able to make more informed decisions and hopefully avoid costly mistakes. So you just want to get prepared. I think that really is the key to it all.
Well, one more time, Deanna, can you give us that contact information for CCCS?
Absolutely. The housing department's number is 1-866-731-8486. Our general counseling line is 1-800-642-2227. Or listeners can visit our site, www.ccs-inc.org.
How many of these interviews have we done together?
470,000.
I think I just picked up on the fact that 2227 is CCCS on a phone.
You're a little slow.
I think
today.
I just got
Oh my
that today.
gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. It's cool, isn't it?
All right. Anyway, now that I've just discovered how slow I am, Deanna Booker, thank you so much for coming by. She's a financial expert with Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland and Delaware. Always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for all the great info.
The pleasure's mine. Thank you for having me.